those years cost me. And I don't mean the savings I spent. I don't mean the income that I walked away from. I mean something else, something that doesn't show up until years later in a number that most people never even think to check in the first place. That's the penalty that nobody talks about. Look, not because it's hidden, but because nobody wants to say it out loud while they're in the middle of living it. I'm going to show you exactly what it is. In my case, my father had Alzheimer's. If you have watched someone you love move through that disease, you know what I mean. When I say it does not happen all at once, it happens in stages. And at each stage, the person who is caregiving faces a decision. How much of your own life do you stop to be there for theirs? For me, that decision meant stepping away from my career. It meant years where income was dramatically reduced and gone entirely in some years. And here's what nobody prepared me for. Caregiving challenges you in a way that almost nothing else does, because you're not one person in that role. You're two people at the same time. You're still the son, still the one who needs his dad, still the one who can remember what he was like before the disease. And at the same time, you become the decision maker, the one managing the medications and the finances and the care plan, the one who is in every practical sense the parent now. You alternate between those two roles, sometimes within the same hour, and at the weight of holding both of them while watching someone you love disappear. That's something I can't fully even put into words, but here is what made it harder in a way I did not even expect. In the back of my mind, underneath all of it, I knew my professional identity was slipping away. I had been an executive, I had built companies, and now those years were going by. And I was not in any boardroom, I was not building anything, I was managing a care schedule and tapping savings and watching my career go quiet. And I felt something that, I wasn't ready to feel, a sense of profound loss about my own identity, about who I was outside of that house. And then I felt something even worse, guilt, for even thinking about it. How do you sit with a man who no longer knows your name, but you still think about your career at the same time? The answer is you do, because you're still a whole person. And that tension between the love you're giving and the life you have paused, it's real. It doesn't make you a bad caregiver. It makes you a human one. Look, I'm telling you this because if you are in it right now, or if you just came out of it, I want you to know that what you felt or are feeling, it's not wrong. But here's what I did, and not fully understand it in the first place until much later. While I was caregiving, something was happening to my Social Security benefit quietly without anyone telling me. Social Security calculates your benefit based on your 35 highest earning years, not your best years, not the years you worked your hardest, your 35 highest earning years. If you worked fewer than 35 years, or if some of those years had very low or zero income, those years go into the average as zeros. The formula doesn't ask why. It does not distinguish between someone who chose to stop working and someone who had to. It just averages them all out. And if your average includes years of zero, you pay the price. When I pulled up my Social Security statement after those caregiving years, I saw those rows. The years with nothing in them. The years with the zeros. I already knew the caregiving years were hard. I already knew they were expensive. What I did not know was I was looking at the exact math of what they cost me. Here's how it works in real numbers. Your benefit is based on your average indexed monthly earnings. Like everything else, it's abbreviated AIME. That number is calculated from your 35 highest earning years. adjusted for wage inflation. Each zero pulls down that average. And a lower average means a lower monthly benefit. Not just for 1 year, but for every year for the rest of your life. I'm not going to give you some hypothetical example. Let me tell you what happened to me. The monthly difference is real. And when you multiply a monthly reduction over, let's call it 20-year retirement, it adds up to a number that is genuinely hard to even look at for me now. But that's not the whole story. In the earlier video of this series, we talked about survivor benefits. Now the rule is this: when the higher earning spouse dies, the surviving spouse receives a percentage of that person's benefit. How much they receive depends on when the higher earner claimed and when the survivor begins collecting on that benefit. Here's what that means when you're the higher earner and your benefit was already reduced by those caregiving years. The survivor benefit is not a fixed amount. It is calculated as a percentage of your benefit, which means if caregiving reduced your benefit, it also reduced what your wife or husband would receive if you die first. The penalty is not single. It doubles through the survivor calculation. I had to sit with that one for a while. I spent those years stepping out of my career to take care of my dad. I made that choice knowing it had a cost. I was okay with that. But I did not fully understand until later that my wife was sharing that cost too. That what I gave up was not just mine to give. That her financial floor, the income she would have if I was gone, was affected by those same years. That was the part that was hard to say out loud. Not because it changed the decision. I would make the exact same choice again. But because she didn't choose to caregive. She supported me while I did. And the math treated her the same way it treated me. That's the full picture of the Social Security caregiving penalty. It's not just your benefit, it's both checks. And in a household where one person is the higher earner, the survivor benefit can be one of the most important numbers in retirement planning. Look, if you haven't watched the Social Security decision your spouse doesn't know about, our previous video, I'd strongly encourage you to go back and watch it. The numbers matter, and the timing decisions matter even more when you understand what's at stake. I want to stop, however, though, just for a second and speak directly to whoever is watching this, because I think there are three different people in this audience right now. The first person, you're still in it. You're caregiving right now, maybe for a parent, maybe for a spouse, maybe for children. Income is reduced or gone. You don't even have the bandwidth for a conversation about Social Security because you're managing today, not tomorrow. This is for you. What's happening to your benefit is happening right now while you're doing the most human thing a person can do for someone they love. You need to know that. Even if you cannot act on it today, knowing is not the same as doing, but it still matters. The second person, you just came out of it. The person you were caring for is gone. The house is quiet in a way that feels weird and wrong. And you're finally starting to look at your own numbers and realizing that something shifted while you were looking the other way. This is for you. You're not imagining it. Those years cost you something specific. And there are decisions available to you now that can partially recover what was lost. You're not too late. The third person watching this, they know that their turn is coming. You have a parent aging, you can see it, and you're asking yourself before you step into it, what do I need to understand? What do I need to plan for? This video is for you. The planning you do now before the caregiving years begin is the most powerful financial move available to you. Not during, not after, now. Now look, this video is not primarily about the mechanics of Social Security. The mechanics are real and they matter. But the reason I made this video is because I spent a long time in a role that nobody prepares you for financially. And nobody told me what it was really costing me until after I had already paid the price. I don't want that for you. Here's what I wish I had known and what you can do about it. The first move is this. Go pull your actual Social Security statement and find the zeros. Go to ssa.gov. Your earnings history is there. Look at the year-by-year expanded version, please. Find the rows that are empty or dramatically low. Don't estimate. See your own number. Until I saw mine, it was this abstract, off in the future kind of number. The moment I saw the actual rows, the actual years, the zeros, that math became real. That's where the decision making starts. The second move is for anyone still in the caregiving years or entering them right now. There are legal ways to preserve Social Security credits even during caregiving. If you earn above a minimum threshold in a year through part-time work or self-employment that year, whatever, it counts. The threshold in 2026 is something you need to verify over at ssa.gov because it adjusts every year thereafter. Look, I'm not telling you to build a side business or a side gig while you're caregiving a parent with Alzheimer's. I'm telling you that even a small amount of documented income in a caregiving year, it can at least protect the calculation. And that's a fact worth knowing. The third move connects directly to the survivor benefit. Every month you delay claiming, if your situation allows you to delay, it recovers some of what the caregiving years reduced. The delayed retirement credit is not just about your monthly check. It's about the floor your spouse has if you die first. If the caregiving years are already behind you, already done, the delayed credit is one of the most powerful tools available for at least partially recovering the survivor benefit loss. Go to ssa.gov, run the math with your actual numbers before you make a claiming decision. Look, these three moves, they're not complicated, but they require at least knowing they exist, which is exactly what nobody told me. I don't regret those years. I would do it again in a heartbeat. I would step away from every boardroom, every title, every earnings year without hesitation if it meant I got to be there for my father the way I was. But I needed to know what it cost. And I needed to know what the cost was, how real it was, and how specific and calculable it was, not just some vague sense of having fallen kind of behind. Naming the thing is the first act of power. You cannot plan around a cost you have not named. And here's what I want you to take from this video. The people who stepped out of the workforce to take care of the previous generation, those are the same people who will be the guides for the next gen. That's not a loss. That is the most expensive investment in another human being that a person can make. And the fact that Social Security does not fully account for it, it doesn't change what it was worth. You gave something that cannot be priced. Now let's make sure you know exactly what the price was so you can plan from here. If you want to see exactly where the caregiving years sit in your own Social Security calculation, go over to brainflash.com, the retirement reality check. I've made it so it walks you through step by step. It'll help you identify the gap. Just drop your email over there. It comes right to your inbox. This is Brain Flash.